Hi guys, just wanted to give you a quick update on the state of my MRT callout board. So this is the sort of cloud-based platform that I'm developing in order to replace some of the manual as well as sort of disparate software slash databases that we use at Dudden & Furness, and also the magnetic board, the physical magnetic board that we use to allocate resources and then update during callouts. So essentially this is the front end, the database and the data schema or data models is the back end. These are separated, they run on different virtual machines in the cloud, so that allows me to put a lot of resilience and reliability and have multiple instances. So if one fails, I can immediately spawn another in order to take over, so there should be sort of minimal, if not sort of no noticeable interruption if there is some kind of failure. So what we have here is sort of the initial starting screen once you've logged in. So I can either generate the call information from some existing systems that we have. So this is with SARCall. So if you've had a request from one of the emergency services and you're the sort of the duty manager, that's basically setting up the call information, issuing the SARCall request. You're going to respond. So here we've had sort of 12 people respond with a SAR-A, so I'm available. Maybe with an ETA, with SAR-L, or no, I'm not available. So this is kind of really important information because now you can start logging who is actually available and what kind of skills do they have. So although you can't see it at the moment, I'll scroll down. We've got Emma and Peter both responded, that they're SARCall A, so they are available. And I can see immediately what kind of skills they have. So when I start thinking about the type of call out and the skills that I need, I may actually want to assign those resources to different teams or vehicles in a particular way. This generate from SARCall is to try to minimize the amount of sort of static information that needs to be logged, or even sort of the manual processes that need to be followed. Because obviously someone on duty at base or even remotely that's running the system needs to try to use as fewer systems as possible. But you can create these callouts manually. So for example, if we don't want to pull the information from the existing systems and generate the callout, I can add this. So let's say Walker has slipped on side of Blackcomb. If I can spell that correctly, there we go. There may be some additional information about the location, let's say between, let's say Witcham Valley and I don't have a particular grid reference I want to use, but I could have the grid reference that's provided from the police. And then, of course, a lot more information, age, whether they're with someone, whether there's a passerby that's currently helping, any kind of medical information, known history about the casualty, and so on and so on. Depending on the grid reference or the location, I can pull in weather conditions. That's obviously very important. Things like cloud cover or cloud base. Maybe moisture, rain, etc. This will pull the weather directly from the SD coordinates, or if I provided like a postcode right now, I just kind of pull in information from the base with sort of fetch weather, but it's generally an API. I might want to change the time of the call out, or I can just say sort of now. So once I've got sort of this minimum information, I create the call out. There are some mandatory fields I forgot here, so this asterisk just denotes that you have to enter some information here. So let's say female, 35, alone, no known medical history, for instance, right. Cool, create callout. So now I have my active callout. So this is essentially sort of a hierarchical data scheme. So this is sort of the high level description. I can now add teams and resources directly into this call out. So there could be, of course, several types of resources that I want to add. So let's just look at, for instance, maybe vehicles. And of course, I want vehicles that are available. Sometimes you might have a vehicle that's in maintenance already in use. So here I've got sort of, at our base, we've got 2 Land Rovers and a minibus, which is also our mobile base as well, if we need one. And it gives you information about things like the capacity and maybe some default equipment that's actually available in there. Medical packs. Well, those could be things like gases, controlled drugs, sort of general purpose medical packs, or MRC medical packs. Of course, they do vary, and they're a finite resource as well. So those need to be managed. And then let's just go back to let's look at equipment. So there will be basic equipment that's in the vehicles themselves, but there may also be things like swift water, steep ground, drone equipment that will need to be loaded in a particular vehicle. And of course, this is done, at least in our team, quite manually. It's people talking to each other, which is obviously what I'm trying to streamline or maybe automate, or at least sort of digitize with this platform. But at least for other uses, you can define several categories of resources and then components of those resources. So let's just go back to personnel then and start sort of creating a team here. So maybe the first team is going to be at base. So we'll just call it base. And I can change the coloring if I want to. So let's say that this is going to be a red team here. Okay, we'll stick with red. Create a team. So now I've got my team. And what I want to do is have a couple of medics. So these will be sort of CASCare certified team members. So I'll just sort of drag and drop those resources directly in there. Let's grab another one. We've got Andy here. And maybe I'd like to see if I've got a potential yellow jacket already, sort of hill commander, maybe that I want to have travel in the first vehicle. For now though, this is just getting my base team together, so let's just add Rob, and Rob is one of our deputy commanders here, so he's just sort of bolded in red. Now I'm going to jump to a different view, and these views can be channeled to specific web pages or tailored to particular URLs. So you could, with sort of several facets of this information, assign a view to a particular URL that people have access to. You can put that behind the login and user as well, or just have a general login and user. So when you have a hill party team or a base team or a particular vehicle team, and people are arriving at base, you might have a screen in the sort of general area or the garage. That's our plan. So have a big screen that just shows this board. So immediately, I could say, let's say DM1. So Dudden Mobile 1 is going to be a personnel team, and then let's have another team, DM2. Dudden Mobile 2 is our second vehicle. Let's just change the color there, a bit more discreet, easier to see. There we are. And in fact, let's assign a couple of vehicles there as well. So I'll just jump to vehicles. So we'll put DM1 in DM1, and we'll put DM2 in DM2. What we could also do, just on the personnel for a moment, is just add some people who are maybe not assigned to a particular vehicle, and I can drag and drop these, but are just going to be arriving shortly. I can't assign Andy because he's already assigned to the base there. Let's assign myself. Here we go. So I've got 3 people that are due imminently. Maybe I've seen on MR map they're just a couple of minutes away. So what I want to do is just kind of have them waiting in my lobby. and then the sort of base commander, incident manager, can just kind of add, we'll say we've got two people already assigned to DM1, we've got one person that's assigned to DM2, and then I can now start assigning equipment. So what we've done here is essentially just sort of digitize what is a magnetic board at the base. So now I can sort of drag and drop or use a mouse. Let's have a warm kit. Let's say this is middle of winter, so probably a good idea to have warm kit across 2 vehicles. In fact, I want some of these medics now. I don't need them in base, obviously I'm going to need them on the hill, so let's kind of move them out to the hill. Maybe I want to keep Rob in the base, have him take over command at some point, especially if we need some coordination between, say, Northwest Ambulance Service and MRT. Maybe we need Rob just to sort of argue the point that potentially this is a serious incident. We need to get the casualty off the hill as quickly as possible. What else could we add here? Well, let's add some specific medical kits. I mean, these are just sort of placeholders at the moment, but they could be sort of the gas, might be controlled drugs that I'm now dragging and dropping. The controlled drugs examples is kind of interesting because once I drag and drop that to a vehicle, I can also tag it with a particular person, because obviously you need a doctor or a certified CASCare member to be responsible for those controlled drugs. You can't just let anyone take those out. Cool. So now we can start looking at the deployed screen, and again, I've just kind of changed the view in the application here, but this could be sent, or let's rephrase that, accessed as a particular URL. So you might have the duty manager who just wants to kind of keep abreast of the situation. Yes, of course, you can look at the different existing systems, but that's kind of all tabbing between applications, or you could call the base and talk to the incident commander. But this gives kind of a nice view, especially with the fact that we've got timers for that are essentially tracking the different parts of the call out. So when the call out was logged, when people started arriving at the base, when they were assigned to a vehicle, maybe when that vehicle arrives on site. So let's do that. Let's say that DM1, DM2 left base 15 minutes ago. They're now arriving somewhere in the Witcham Valley. So I'm going to change these to, let's change that to Bravo team, because that's effectively now a hill team. Oops, so we'll say Bravo. Bam, and then we'll change this to Alpha. So now we've got Alpha and Bravo. You don't necessarily need to have a base team, so maybe I'll just delete that and stick with sort of Alpha and Bravo now, my 2 hill teams. They're sort of headed off to particular locations. They may not have even taken that kit out of the vehicle. Maybe we'll leave the kit in the vehicle. So I could drag DM1 or DM2 and create another team specifically for DM1 or DM2 and leave the equipment in there, but for now I'll just leave that as it is. So going back to the deployed screen, so here I can see only Alpha and Bravo, so our hill teams exist, how many people, which vehicle they arrived in, how long since the team was created, which on most call-outs may be not important, but if you've got a very large incident or an incident over a wide area, and this is like many hours, potentially going over multiple days. We had a search on Scarfell a few weeks ago. Basically, a child had run off from its parents. So it started in the evening on, I guess it was the Friday or the Saturday, and then it was going over to the next day. So already you've got sort of base planning for 2 different shifts. And now you can kind of figure out, well, how long have these people been out on the hill? Is it time to rotate them? When should we be rotating them? I can update this weather every 30 minutes, every 2 hours as well. So there's always sort of some information about the weather. And then depending on the type of situation this platform is used in, you get sort of just a snapshot of what resources have been assigned, how many resources are still available. Maybe not so useful for the smaller teams, but maybe if you're Wasdale or maybe Keswick, you've got multiple callouts running in parallel, which could be an issue. Now, because we've got a front end and a back end, a lot of this data is accessible either through the database, or it can be emailed, it can be sent as a summary, it could be displayed on a website, or it could just be exported as a PDF. So now that's just saved locally, and I can send that file, someone will drop it in sort of a WhatsApp channel. I haven't really shown you the map. So because I put SD coordinates and made them up, it's just sort of defaulted to a particular location there. But here is the coordinates for the Duddenham Furnace base. If I'd have put specific SD coordinates in, then they would have automatically located to wherever those had been sort of set. This map is just OpenStreetView, I think, or OpenStreetMap. So it's a free-to-use API. Maybe at some point in the future, I'll give a subscription to OS Maps, or I'll contact OS Maps, see if we can get an API key for this tool. But ideally, I'd probably want to integrate the map view into MR Map, which we use in the lakes, which then shows where people are, because we've got sort of location information through their radio, and if there's sort of some search areas that have been created and then assigned, or if there's a drone team out and you can look at the flight path that's been set for that drone team, those would be shown on this screen as well. Cool, and then assuming that everything goes to plan, these two teams that have been out on the hill, they find the casualty. So both Alpha and Bravo arrived at the same time. Amazing, so let's just merge the team there. We can delete the existing team. I'll change this to maybe CAS site. There we go, lowercase, uppercase. Should have kept the caps lock on. Let me just change that. My obsessive compulsive behavior would not allow me to look at that for too long. There we go, so that's now the CAS site, and again that's kind of logged in the system, so we know that when we merged the teams and basically created the CAS site, then that's effectively when they arrived. Now this would be logged automatically, well not automatically, but the commander would log this information in the SAR system anyway, but this is maybe just a way to sort of automate that. And in the future, if we sort of continue, or if I continue to develop this, maybe this is functionality that can merge with SAR. But for the time being, I've kept it separate. Cool. Okay. I think that's all I can show for now. I'll create another video which is more technical, which kind of shows the front end and back end. I've also been playing with Unity, which is a 3D front-end package that's used for sort of gaming and things. So I've created everything that you see here in terms of the call-out and the, let's call this the sort of deployed page. I've created that in a 3D, so it's highly graphical environment. Does it have a practical use? Not really. Does it look cool? Very much so. Thanks.